you can never look and really be certain. You look at it and go, oh, that one, right. And then only the ones that don't, you're like, oh, goodness. You're in the back, steaming away for two hours or something. Trying. But yeah, exactly, it's work and you got to do it.
That's it. Do it the best.
Yeah.
What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Born To Tint Podcast with the Miller Brothers. Flying solo today. I have a special treat. We have someone from down under, Cory from Express Tint, all the way up from Australia. Came across our podcast while listening to another one. We ended up connecting with him, and he was out in Vegas, so we invited him on. Check it out.
Doing car sales, and most of the time I found myself just washing the cars and just being like a yardie. And then there was a tinter guy there, and they'd come in and they were tinting the cars and the Commodores and that, and I'm like, oh wow. And I sort of hit one of them up. Can you train me? And they're like, no one wanted to. You just couldn't get a foot in. You just couldn't. Hey, and it was one of them things. And then I was like, so I just started scoping them up and started detailing just in a place that did car tinting, and sort of just picked up pieces from them guys, because you didn't have what we've got now, like to go online and you know what I mean. Like back, we're talking like early 2000, late 90s, early 2000.
Yep.
You just didn't have that. So it was a lot harder to learn. You just sort of be like, I'd be walking around, what are they? And then, then you would, they'd throw out the rolls that got to the end, where you got your little specs and that in it. So they'd actually measure them out and go get some money back from the supplier or something, but throw them in the bin. And then I was like, hey, I'll take them. And just started practicing, yeah. Yeah,
no, see, it's crazy to see where the industry has gotten to, because I remember all that, because I grew up in it. So it's like I remember in early 2000s, and no one wanted to talk about anything. Like you didn't, and it was also everyone was scared to train somebody, because always the fear is they're going to go open up down the street, or you're going to take business away. And where the industry has gotten to now, I absolutely love, and it's realizing that there's so much work out there that there's no reason not to try to help everyone get better, because that only makes the industry look better. And if the industry looks better, then we have more customers. And there's an unlimited amount of customers. It does depend on the market. I will say that, because I know for certainty there are smaller towns and cities within even the states that it's like, dude, 10,000 people live here. I can't have two other shops spring up. Like that's gonna hurt me. Which I understand that, but for here in Vegas, it's like we have a flood of tint shops, especially when summertime comes around, especially auto shops pop up all over the place. Some stick and stay, some don't. Winter comes around and they weren't properly prepared for winter, knowing that, hey, this is a seasonal business. Like when it gets cold, people stop thinking about heat rejection. Privacy and looks, they still kind of go after. But yeah, no one wanted to share anything. My dad was kind of guilty of that too, to a point when I was growing up. And I kind of was, I guess, in that mentality too, until all of a sudden I'm maybe my middle to, I wouldn't say late 20s, my middle of my 20s is where it was kind of more for me, like who cares? And then for a big thing, I think around 2018, 17, when Eric DeVos from Tint Wiz, when he popped up, and that dude just is an amazing guy. He just wants to help people, and he puts everything out, and any way he can help you, he helps you. And it's just realizing all right, I'd rather help somebody and improve what is even if it's someone around me. I have an installer in my auto side that I trained. He came to us right out of high school, loved his enthusiasm. He was eager to learn, wanted to make money, and this is what he wanted to do. Had watched a couple of videos on YouTube, but he got turned away from two other shops. Pretty much one of them was we don't have the time of day. The other one, it was just nah, we don't want to train somebody. It's just, we don't have time for that. I loved it, because I think we found more of our success now with someone who knows nothing. Anyone who's come in, depending on where they were originally trained, we have more of a pushback when it comes to either trying to correct something, or just hey, this is the way we do it. And it's not because it's 100% the way it has to be done, but this is how our operations work for it, so it's more efficient. We get things in and out, and you're having this common issue over and over again. Here, try this, and then it's well, no, it's not how I was trained. It's okay, I get that, but you do understand you grow as an installer. You should always be growing and changing as an installer. I've changed, I think, dramatically from when I first started installing to now, like I've implemented, like I remember shrinking doors on cars. Like that's like you had to cut your pattern out, put it on the car, shrink it. Like you had to do it. I don't think I've done that in years because I snap shrink everything now. Now I just lift it up off the peel board, throw a little heat on it, like even on flat windows. Why not? Just throw a little shrink in there. Like I don't want to have any issues with fighters or anything like that. So like always being open to evolving and changing, that has definitely just recently started happening in our industry.
Yeah.
And I think the manufacturers were a big part of the reason why everything was so closed off too. Because they were like, you sell our brand, only our brand. You sell anyone else's, we drop you.
Yeah.
And you don't get it. Now it's more likely like, hey, thank you for buying our film.
Yeah.
Like we would love you to just buy our film, but if you can solve a problem with something else, we get it. But be loyal to us. Don't change our leads to someone else's film. And that's always something I've gone by. If I get a lead from a certain manufacturer, like I don't even present the other films unless their films do not solve the customer's problem.
Yeah.
Then it's, I'm sorry, my loyalty is to my customer. I want to make them happy because if I don't make them happy and solve their problem just because I have to use your product, like I'm potentially going to lose a customer or get a bad review, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
You know, but
yeah, makes sense completely.
What was your first car? I'm always curious to know what the first car was that got worked on.
Well, I was pretty fortunate that I ended up moving from Sydney up to Brisbane and contacted a guy who said, hey, like we give you a traineeship. Like it was like, you're going to earn, minimum wage, but we're going to train you. So I started with them and I ended up doing Toyotas. So it was like your Toyota Camrys, and it was really good that it was a repetitive thing. So like the door trim procedures, you're like, oh yeah, all right. The next day, I remember this car comes off like this. And then, I remember this got a tight seal. And, I just started, working on, you're just doing front doors, just doing front doors, and, we're churning over, 12 cars a day. So, after like 3 days, you've done, 55 front doors. So then you're onto the back door. But yeah, it was mainly, it was Toyotas for about 3 years. And we did retail, but it was a very small part. And that's when I sort of realized that it was a lot difficult moving from one car to another. You're like, this is like, some of our like our Fords and stuff. We'd have to, pull out the whole rubbers out of the tracks to get them in there and stuff like that. So, but I think that was really good, being able to just work on the one manufacturer for them couple of years to really, get your skills up.
Never thought about it like that. That is actually probably like the best way possible. If you could pick a route to go to learn auto, would be in a dealership setting. To at least you can get repetitive on the same vehicle over and over again, dial in the procedure, and then start venturing into other makes and models. That's actually like if you could set that up, that's not a bad way to start auto installing, because you're not getting the curveball of the old vehicle or just switching from a Toyota to BMW or to a Mercedes or an Audi. Like those are all drastically different installs, especially on the auto side.
Absolutely.
Wow. I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah. And that is exactly it. And you realize that, tinting one car to tinting another car is completely different. And then it, really with me, when we're, selling a tint to a customer, it's very frustrating. We'll get someone call up and they're like, oh, what sort of car you got? I got a sedan. Oh, okay. That's not, you need to be more specific. And finally you get out of them. It's the guys with the BMWs and the Mercedes, and they're like, oh, it's a BMW. I didn't want to say a BMW because you're going to charge me more. It's like, yeah, I might have to charge you more because there's more involved. Than,
it's a harder vehicle too.
Yeah, exactly,
No, we get the same pushback here. You'll get people that will they'll try to avoid saying what it is because and the funny part is too, it's like a lot of times, at least for us, we'll be like, no, it doesn't really matter. Like my 4-door sedan is the same price, but beyond what it is, like I'm not trying to figure out if I can charge you more. I'm trying to figure out to make sure I know where I can fit you in my schedule. Like your car is going to take longer than a Toyota Camry or a Honda Civic. Like those cars are going to go really quick. You know, if you have a Mercedes or a BMW, like your seals are lined with felt. Like it's a much different procedure. Like not looking at it like, oh, this guy's BMW. All right, well, actually, it's actually 20% more, sir. Yeah. You know, but it definitely changes the day-to-day operation for a certainty.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, it's one of them, and it is one of them frustrating things. You know, it's like, explaining it to them, and a lot of people, they don't really sort of want to take the time to understand that is as an issue. And you know, like things happen. You know, you might be working on a Porsche with like a $2,000 door trim, or you know, and all of that's got to be taken into, you know, consideration. And it's very hard to, in a short conversation with a customer on the phone, to put that into.
No, I'm gonna say that's probably the biggest reason why we opened the educational side, the academy, was to shine the light on like, hey, if you want to avoid those type of conversations, start tinting houses, start tinting commercial buildings, because you're at least open to have a much longer conversation with them. But like, yeah, car customers, they want it done right now. And they don't and none of that gets taken into consideration. And then trying to sit there and explain to them like, all right, there are different types of films. And then depending on also what the market is, or at least your local market of other dealers that are around you, other tint shops, what are they saying to their customers? Because, you know, that's, I'd say one of the big, gripes in the Facebook and the social media groups is how to sell automotive film. Either are you mentioning that infrared number? Some people only mention the infrared number, and they're saying 91% heat rejection. Like I have a hard stance, at least with my inside sales, because it's like I only want to focus on my company. How you sell your film is how you sell your film. To me, if you sell it like that, if I can get them on the phone where they're calling me, I'm going to unfortunately make you seem like you're a very shisty person, because I've told my inside salespeople, you don't ever lead with that number. And if you are going to mention it, you better mention the total solar heat rejection and explain to them what that 91% represents and how it actually affects the vehicle. Educate them. If you are able to keep them on the phone that long to where you can actually educate them, and they say they don't book with us, but I bet the next person they call, majority of the time, and they might ask a question to that person who either, if they haven't been told to sell a different way, or they're not fully aware of how infrared and total solar heat works, like they're not going to be able to answer the question. Who do you think the customer is going to probably call back or come to? Us, you know, because we're actually going to paint that full picture for them. Yeah. I mean, the same thing goes with flat glass, like the glass meter. Like we started using it, like no matter what, it has to be used. Like we only do in-person pricing. Like we'll give it, like we have caved a little bit in where it's like, you can send us the measurements. We can give you a roundabout, but we still don't know what film's going to solve your problem until we meter that glass. And I know it's safe to put on there, and it's actually going to do what I'm telling you it's going to do. So we will go that far if we have a customer pushing back hard. Like, you know, I just kind of want, I just want a rough estimate. And it's like, okay, we can do that. But if you're on board with what we're pitching you, we still have to set up an in-person consultation. I need field measurements. And then beyond that, I need to test that glass, because I'm not going to blindly put film on a window. Just can't do that in flat glass anymore. We used to be able to do that. I mean, my dad would only sell dual reflective films, and I never understood why. I do now, is because dual reflective is pretty much safe on everything. It's green lit across the board. So you can just sell it and know that you're not going to break something. But is it solving the issue? We don't know until you put the meter on. So are you just in auto, or are you doing flat too?
We do flat. Yeah, we do flat glass. Yeah. It's dropped off a lot for us from, you know, where it was years ago. We got a lot of staffing problems finding guys. It seems as though now everybody who's in the industry is doing it for themselves, and they, you know, which makes it a little bit hard to do. So I'm mainly concentrating more on the auto side, which I have done for, you know, the majority of it. So the flat glass is there, but we find it. And just like we were saying then, you've got to go out and look at the glass, you know, and everyone's the same. And then when you do go out and look at the glass, look, I got a quote from a guy who's on Marketplace, and how do you, and you're just like, oh man, like I've just gone out and, you know, spend an hour. I could probably tinted a car in that time.
Yeah.
So that's probably where I'm not pushing the flat glass a lot. I'm not sure what's happening in Australia with it. It just seems to have, taken a little bit of a
awkward turn.
Yeah, for some reason. But it's something that's, people need to be aware of how much of an advantage it is. It's like, but but that's sort of, something that I hope to get back into. Like we've got the setup, we've got to, but we just can't find people.
Yeah, no, and that's actually I would say the first core problem that was solved for us building all this out was we needed installers. And for the most part, almost all the training I've always went through my entire life, and the majority of the time growing up in the tint shop, it's on the job training. Like now there's academies and stuff popping up. There's definitely plenty of academies for auto. Like they're all over the place. But like flat glass really didn't have one. And so it's like selfishly, I get to use all these windows to when I do onboard someone into our company, I get to go hands on with them in a shop setting. So I can say what I want to say to them if they do something without knowing there's a customer behind me, pointing something out and or having me discreet about it while I am on the job, where I'm slowly letting them do a little bit more here and there. So now I can actually be like completely hands on and point out like, all right, see this gap right here at the top of the window? There's a blind on this window and it's not going to be seen. If it's obviously there always still is a line that you don't cross, but if it's going to be covered and it's never going to be seen again, it's put the blind up, move on with your day. Like there is always that line of a standard, but it's knowing where that line is and trying to explain that line to somebody in a customer's home while the customer's there. A lot harder to do.
Yeah.
A lot harder to do.
Oh yeah. This is a great idea, and it makes 100% sense. And it's sort of, it makes full sense that you can have that sort of, and let someone, chug away on a heap of film, waste it. It's not like in someone's house, they're like, oh, wow, this guy, what's he doing?
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is it's like, it's letting the customer know like, hey, he's pulling that off because he knows that doesn't meet our expectations. That's a good thing. Now, yes, you don't want to see a guy scrap about 3 or 4 pieces on this single window, because then they're going like, why is he tinting this window for me?
Yeah.
So that's definitely, that was definitely the other inspiration for doing this. It was, I want to be able to train my guys in-house, and not just on like, we have that single window over there. That was kind of like the first concept. And then all of a sudden when we had this part of our shop open up, it was one thing. We were very lucky that we own our building and we own up to this point. So we were leasing this part out. And then as soon as that lease went up and the guy was like, yeah, I'm not renewing, I'm going back to the East Coast. It was like, I didn't want to fill it with another person. I was like, we need this space. We're using it it was a storage unit for like a couple of months, all our extra ladders and nonsense. Yeah. And then it was finally like, thankfully Solar Guard and Tint Wiz, I pitched them on the idea of opening up an academy and see if they want to be a part of it. And they put money behind it and we got the ball rolling. And it's been about a year of build out, and then we did some test class at the end of last year, and then we kind of have it really honed in now to where exactly how we want to run the 3-day workshop, putting our bidding, our lead intake to our bidding process and everything down actually in paper, in writing, SOPs, and having an entire thing to where it's like, hey, this is exactly how we do it, and it's working. We're getting anywhere from $18 to $25 a square foot on dual reflective films. Spectrum selective, we're at like $32 to $38, depending on what time of the year it is. And then obviously marketing comes into play with that too, is making sure that you're pushing your marketing towards, the right avatar, the person who will value the customer experience and values the turnaround time. Like, tell them I can get it done within 2 weeks instead of saying, well, we're booked, I can't get out to your house for 5 weeks. Yeah. Listen, but people will wait for houses more than cars. Cars, you have to have a crew that you can get someone in within like 2 or 3 weeks. If you can't get someone in 2 or 3 weeks, they're probably going to a competitor. Yeah. And it just is what it is. Yeah. There's not much you can do about that. Yeah. But so do you guys experience the same, I would say, fluctuation in the season? Like obviously summertime, busy, winter, things kind of dive off?
We're pretty fortunate. It's not so bad. Brisbane, Queensland stays pretty. Like our winters, you're still getting days that are like 22 degrees, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's not this cold. Like we don't get that real drop off. So yeah, we do get that little bit of a slump, but it's not quite as as dramatic as like you guys that are experiencing snow like right now, blizzards.
Oh yeah, no, that's where I'm very happy where we're located. Like, yeah, this is our cold. We usually won't get any lower than this, and seasonality kicks in. It slows down. But yeah, it's nothing like what Tennessee and everyone else is getting hit with right now. Like I have a buddy in Tennessee that he lost power yesterday, and he was at the time too. He was telling me like I have a job in Kansas City. I don't know if I want to drive down there. And all of a sudden he sent me a text. Well, I'm heading to Kansas City. He goes, it's either I buy a generator or I go to Kansas City and I go make money. And he's like, I decided to go make money. I was like, not a bad choice.
Yeah.
So he loaded everything up, loaded up his dogs, his dog, his snake, and in his work van, he drove through the night to get there, which I know the roads were icy. Like he was sending me photos and I was like, all right. And I texted him this morning. I was like, you get there in one piece? And he's like, yeah, we're here. And I was like, okay. Like you got the hard part over with making that drive in those conditions. But yeah, when we don't get to experience the ice outs and like the complete shutdown, because they're going to be shut down for like the next, couldn't imagine anyone doing any tent work within the next like week and a half, which that would, I don't want to experience that.
No, it make things pretty tough. What about the PPF and all that? You just do a lot of.
Yeah, we get a good amount. Same thing when it comes to it's always the same common denominator as installers. You need to find people that obviously you can trust. Thankfully, we started our lead installer here. I turned him on to PPF probably actually 2 years ago. And now he's at a point where I can hand a car to him and I know it's going to get done to the standards that we hold our work to. But I mean, I think we could do more here. I mean, Vegas is a very good spot for PPF because our roads are always under construction. So it's a fair amount. I found a subcontractor that I use that, I mean, he is a sub, but at the same time, like he pretty much works for us. Like anytime I have work that comes in, he's on the spot. And like, I got really lucky with him. With him, it's not obviously finding an installer that's as good as yourself. Like for me, it's like when he comes in, it's like I'm fairly certain, like I know almost for a certainty, you're better at PPF than I am. So it's like if I have any customers that were like, you're doing the car, right? I'm like, yeah. I hand the car to him. I mean, I have a complete overview over it, obviously, looking at the job, but it's like I know what kind of work he's doing. Like he's doing work that, like I said, better than mine in some circumstances. So I'm able to hand a car off to him, and when I can find an installer like that, it's amazing because then it's just like, here you go, here's your project, get it done. I know you know what you're doing. Like, let me know if there is anything. He'll bring objections up to me. I'm like, I appreciate you bringing this up, but you're being too particular. Like this is something that you know is never going to be seen by anyone besides an installer. Like you're pointing out installer specs where we see that stuff. No one else is saying this. I know you're being a very harsh critic on yourself, which I appreciate, which that's the reason why I trust him so much. Is that he is going to pick apart his own work, and he's not, like I'll tell him like, man, if you're not comfortable with it, take it off, replace it. Like, yes, I'm not trying to scrap a bunch of PPF because that stuff's expensive, but at the same time, I'm not going to try to save, say, $100 in material at the expense of trying to squeeze something past a customer. Yeah, it never works out well that way. No. That's always going to backfire. At some point, it will always backfire. But but no, I've always I have a few guys where it's like, I know in our winter we slow down. I told them, like, dude, guys, get your passports. I was like, get your passports. I bet you we can find shops in other parts of the world, especially Australia, where when it's cold here, it's hot there. And I bet they're looking for installers. So you guys are having the same issue that technically we have is installers, is finding competent installers. Yeah, really. And it's just it makes it difficult. I mean, you can too, like I'm still on the tools, being trying to like it's one of them things where you're like I was probably
almost got to a point where it was like, yeah, I had 2 guys working for me, and then COVID come along. And that was like, people just disappeared. Like, and I don't know where all the tinners went. Like, I mean, I know some guys that, that, you know, we've had working for us that have gone into the dealership. Like, in Australia, there's a lot, the main competition is the dealer network. They're really, they've really got a good, first, you know, bite at the customer, you know, like, they're doing crazy stuff like that. They'll basically, I get customers turning up that they've tinted their car for free. Like they'll be booked in for some, you know, paint protection or something like that. They'll turn up and I'm like, do you know that car's tinted? They're like, oh, really? Oh, I don't know. I just picked it up straight from the dealership. And then we found really what a lot of it is to do is they're going to put on an upsell. So they're like, oh, look, the car comes already tinted, but we really recommend you do the ceramic coating and the leather treatment and whatever, and it's going to cost you whatever X amount. So I think that's where they really are taking a big bite of the new cars. And for tinners, there's a lot of work in the dealer industry, and who doesn't want to go and tint brand new cars all the time?
Yeah.
And that's what we see now, a lot more of, you know, the removals, ripping off old 15-year-old cars, the jobs that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But,
no, that's fair to say. No, that's majority of installers. Like, even sometimes my installers, they'll see removals, strip and tint, and they're like, oh, I'm like, it's work. what are we complaining about? And then we moved our pricing up on removals, where we charge almost. I had a friend break it down to me. He's like, what do you guys charge for removal? I'm like, $100. He's like, dude, you need to move that up to like $250. He goes, think about it. How much more longer is it going to take you to take that film off and put it on? So if the customer throws you an objection of like, that's almost as much as tinting it, it's like, yeah, it's going to take me longer to take the film off your car than it is to put the new film on the car. Yeah. So I need, like, my installers, like, that's their time. Like, time is money, and we want to do it right. And I didn't want to be able to compensate my installers to where, like, not to say that they want to do it, but technically, so they want to do it. So, like, I moved up the commission pay on removals, like, dramatically, just so it's like you can gripe about having to remove it, or you can remove it and tint it. And, like, for what we do is we do flag hours.
Yep.
So removal pays 5 hours, and then depending on what film you're putting on, it's like about 4 hours to tint it. So within that one car, you can flag 9 hours. Strip and tint, as long as you, in my eyes, move it efficiently enough. Like, if it's hot enough, bag it, put it out back, tint your next car, and then pull the film off as you're tinting your next car. And then you get to pull in a car that has minimal glue on it, and you still got to scrape it. So in the amount of, I'd say, about 3 hours, you should be able to strip that vehicle while you're tinting another vehicle, and then get that vehicle in the bay to start working on it. You potentially flagging a good 13, 14 hours in 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you got to take the good with the bad. You're going to get your removals that come off with glue, which is nice.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get the one you got to remove inch by inch. And, you know, it's not the majority, but those do happen. And it kind of is what it is. You know, you got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah. And they do happen. And you can never look and really be certain. You look at it and go, oh, I think that one's going to come off all right. And then only the ones that don't. And you're like, oh my goodness. You're in the back, you know, steaming away for two hours or something, trying to, you know, not to damage the misses and stuff. But exactly, it's work, and you got to do it. It's like what, you know. But yeah, I would definitely, that's definitely on that topic is what I've noticed. The new cars for us, and I know it's widespread, like within a lot of just retail tint shops are all the same. Like, you know, we're just not getting the new cars. Like the dealers are killing it. So I think they've got a lot of the tinners. That's where they go. That's where they're comfortable. Yeah. You know, you can go in, maybe tint, you know, 4 or 5 cars, and then you go home. You know, you're not having to, you know, sit around a shop and start, you know, sweeping the floors when it's quiet and stuff. So yeah, I think that's something that we got to deal with.
Are the manufacturers getting into the dealerships and setting up the dealerships with a straight connection to the manufacturer? Then it's just like you just get your tinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even so, there's like a couple of different companies that will do it, but the one that I know a guy personally who works with them is he hires the guys and gets the film, sends them around to where they got to go. Like they might work for 2 or 3 different dealerships. Hey, you going up to this one? They've got 3 cars, and you might go down to somewhere, and and then you've got some of the dealerships that are just solely in house, who just buy their own film and do it like that. But we noticed we were doing a lot of, like, you just don't have the BYDs and stuff over. You don't have the Chinese cars over here yet, do you, the electric things? Mm-mm. Yeah, we were doing heaps of them. Like they were probably one of our biggest cars for a while. Then a big name dealership took over the the selling of them, and then bang, we seen they literally disappeared. Because it was a car like a Tesla. You'd buy them online, so they just go pick them up at the holding and away you go. But then when the dealership actually got involved in the third party of it, they disappeared. We just don't do them anymore.
Yeah, no, that's like with Expel and Tesla. No, or was it Rivian? No, I think it's Tesla. Like that's the only, they have it built into where they have warranties on the glass, but it has to be Expel and ordered through them. And yeah, I would say that's probably the only manufacturer I can think of that I don't think they're intentionally going after dealerships, but at the same time they see a want and a need from a consumer, and that consumer is a dealership, and that's where the cars are essentially located. So they try to set them up. I would say the big problem that we have, at least in Vegas, is the dealerships, they'll bring it in-house, but then the install doesn't go well. It's a bad install, and they just kind of try to get anyone in there to do it. And then, you'll get a lot of pushback from customers. Like we've had customers come in like, oh, dealerships said they tinted, the whole car's tinted, and it's like a truck or SUV. I'm like, I bet you the front doors are tinted and the rest isn't. And they're like, no, they said they did the whole thing. I was like, I understand what they told you, but I'm telling you right now what ended up happening. We'll walk out to the car. I'm like, yep, back half of your car's not tinted. Are you serious? I'm like, I'm 100% serious. What they're going to state is that just that dyed glass is tinted, and they just charge you $500 to do the front 2 doors, or $800 to do the front 2 doors.
Yeah.
And it's, we've always kind of, I've stayed away from the dealerships because people, I've gotten asked, like, do you have any dealership accounts? I'm like, nope, don't want them, because the dealerships want to pay close to nothing. They want to pay you in 30 to 60 days, and they want you to move right then. And it's like, nah, you can't have cheap, good, and fast all at the same time. That's not how that works. And then also you want to pay me later. So now I got to hold on to it until I got to hold the money in for 60 days. Yeah, I can't do that. Yeah. So, but even with like the ceramic coating or PPF, my sister had one of her good friends brought her Range Rover in, and supposedly tinted. When it was on the ticket too, that they charged her for tint and a full front PPF. Like I looked at the car, I'm like, so you want the good news or bad news? And I was like, good news, there really isn't any. They haven't done anything to this car. Like if they said they did anything paint protection wise, I bet there is some kind of a nice spray cleaner they put on that they're claiming it's ceramic coating, which it's not. And yeah, they just charge you $1,200 for that. And it's like, I look, she's like, yeah, I'll be calling them. And it's like, they will try to get away with as much as they possibly can. And like, I mean, the funny part is that the last time I bought a new truck from a dealership, they originally on the phone, I already told them, like, if there's tint on it, take it off. I do this for a living. I'm not paying for it. I'm like, oh, we'll take that off, but we'll leave the film on there for you. I'm like, that's fine. I mean, I was like, honestly, you're making my job harder, but I'm fine with it. You're not charging me for it. It's all I care about. And I went to go pick it up, and it's like, I rolled down my windows, and I'm like, you guys get away with this. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, you guys tinted the front 2 doors. You guys have a $500 ticket on the windshield. Well, you're not getting charged. I was like, I know I'm not. I'm just wondering, like, you guys actually get away with this. And then he changed the subject. And I was just like, there's no reason to sit there and go back and forth with the guy. Like, he's not making this decision. Like, there's nothing he can do about it. But yeah, they'll try to get away with anything they possibly can. Yeah. But
so yeah, it's still a similar so they're doing a similar thing here as they're doing for us. But yeah, of course they're going to do that too when it's so like they're looking at the cars coming in with the privacy glass and they go, wow, well, we're only going to tint the 2 fronts, and people are thinking, oh, $600 is not a bad deal, because they're not realizing they're only getting the 2 fronts done.
The majority of the time, it's not even ceramic.
No,
they're just putting on a regular dye product.
We see exactly the same thing, and it's almost on a daily basis, and it's frustrating. I got a customer. I've just picked up the car, but he wanted it darker, to match up. So he didn't want to keep to the legal 35, which I think you guys are about the same.
Yep.
And I said, take it back, get him to remove it. He's like, wow. I said, man, just really just for the principle of it. You didn't ask for it. You didn't want it. Take it back and say, man, I want it removed. And and that's what I think, is what needs to be done. It's like, if you didn't ask for it, you say, well, you get a car the way it comes from the factory. It didn't come from the factory like that.
Yep. No, 100%. And that's a lot of times too, people that's one thing I would say the consumer needs to know. Like, you need to press back on the dealerships and tell them, like, no, I didn't want that. I'm not paying that price or financing that price for the film. Like, I don't want to finance my film. Take it off my car and take that off my bill, or just take it off my bill for all I care. And then beyond that, if you are going to go that route, still I would press them, like, take it off and then also credit me like $200, because I have to go pay someone to remove this now, because I don't want you to tint it, because I don't know what product you're putting on. I don't know the person. I want to take it to the shop where I know I trust the guy, that it's going to be done correctly and they're going to put the correct product on. Yeah. Because that's the other thing. That's the other big thing. My brother worked for a manufacturer or for a dealership for about, I want to say, a year or less. He had stepped away from the shop. Him and my dad were like water and oil. It's just no mixing. They butted heads constantly. So he stepped away for a bit, was doing something a little different. Didn't work out. He was doing loans. He went to go do underwriting for loans. And that was right before the housing market collapsed in 2007. So he went to do that. Economy crashes. Not the best job to have. Ends up getting in with a Lexus dealership. And it was, he thoroughly enjoyed the fact that, he had his pick of the lot. He could go after all the SUVs. He was getting paid, I think, 2.5 hours for just 2 front doors. So, like, he'd start his day pulling one RX, cut like eight vehicles worth of patterns, and then just start knocking cars out. And it was great. But, like, I went and helped him one time with some cars just to go hang out with him and just, like, help him. And, like, I forget which manufacturer it was, and if I did remember, I wouldn't mention it because I'm not trying to trash anybody. But they were buying, like, the middling film for that manufacturer. Like, I grabbed it. I was like, this is kind of suck to install. Like, this is paper thin. Like, there's nothing fun about this. But then they're sitting there charging like $800-900 to tint an SUV when they're only doing the front 2 doors. And he's like, dude, it's not my place to say anything. I'm just going to tint the cars. Yeah. And he was the second installer they brought on. The first guy, after they got to know each other, that guy originally said that he'd been tinting for like 3 to 4 years. And the guy finally opened up to my brother. He's like, dude, I've been tinting for like 2 months. And, like, my brother was like, I want to be nice. I could tell. I could see it in the work, dude. And, it worked out for the most part. But my brother did that for a bit, and then he ended up joining the military. He served for 6 years and then came back into the fold after that. But, I can understand the dealership route. I mean, like I said, the dealerships try to do it here. There's one major network of dealerships, the Finley Group. I think they have like 20 dealerships in town, ranging almost every make and model. They opened up a custom shop and then drawled back all of their work from the shops they were using, filtered it, or trying to filter into one shop, and then realized logistically that's not possible. You can't have a new shop that just stood up unless you brought on, I guess, obviously the right amount of installers, the right manager. If they try to filter 18 plus car dealerships into one spot, that's got to be a big operation. And that broke. And then they started trying to bring people in-house to each dealership, pretty much let the GM of each dealership decide, like, all right, we're going to try to bring this in-house. And I mean, even Toyota's right up the street from us. Good amount of the parts guys, service guys, and salespeople, they all have our card and our number. And they'll tell their customer, like, don't get the tint.
Yeah.
Go down there.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, we service cars, we sell cars. To actually get in my eyes, get a high-end installer into a dealership, they have to be paying him a good amount. And most of the time, dealerships don't want to do that. The good installers are going to be in an established shop where that person's being compensated because we understand what it is to have an installer like that, where I know you can do 8+ vehicles in a day and the work's not returning. You're not scrapping my film. Like that is I wouldn't say it's a rare breed, but it is a lot harder to find. Because majority of the time, by the time that installer matures, he matures in that company, and he's went through the couple years of getting to that point. And as long as you take care of your guy, usually they don't leave.
Yeah.
You know, we've had a couple of guys try to flip to the other side of the coin, and you know, they try to run their own business, and it's like, I understand you see all the money coming in, or you see like all this money coming in. Like, you know, there's a lot of bills. There's a lot more on this back end that comes along with it. You know,
they're not seeing it going out.
Yeah. No.
And that's that's the crazy part. But so when I was saying, a really funny thing is when I first started out, so that car yard, I ended up coming to Brisbane, worked there for, you know, the same company I'm still with the same company, but then become a store owner, had the opportunity to buy a store. Then a guy come along, and this is about 12 years later, and he rings up and he says, "Hey mate, I've just moved up from Sydney. You got any work?" I said, "Yeah, I do. Come on down." And he comes on down, he's working. Great, you know, competent as, and I'm just like, man, I know this guy from somewhere. And I honestly, it would have taken over a week. And every day, I was like, where do I know this guy from? I said, "Hey, did you used to work at the hood dealership on Parramatta Road?" He's like, "Yeah." I went, "Oh man." And he's like, "Oh, really?" And he had the same thing. He's like, "I thought I recognized you from somewhere." So crazy enough that, so 12 years later, he comes and works for me, and he's the guy that I was asking, "Hey man, can you train me? Can you train me?" And he wouldn't. And that's a story I love to share with everyone, because it was just crazy. He stayed working with us for 10 odd years, and now he's in the dealership network, just taking it a bit easier.
Yeah, see, that's one of those things where it's like, now I'm definitely have the mindset of like, I am very open, and we put out as much information as possible, and I try to help the industry as much as possible, because it still is a very small, new industry. And I don't want to burn a bridge with anyone, but also that person could be, I'd say of use, but they could be useful at some point in their career to where we might circle back and see them again.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I said, the guy that I trained from high school, like he stepped out, it was a year and a half ago. And he was very open with me when we brought him on too, is that his end goal, and that's like one thing, it's like, what do you want to do? Like, you're 18 right now, man, so you should know what you want to do, but I know you want to learn how to tint cars. I'll teach you how to tint cars. And then as we developed him and we're talking with him, he's like, his thing is he did eventually want to go off and do his own thing, which I was like, I'm fine with that. Just, don't ever take my material. Don't ever try to take one of my customers. Like, you don't do those two things, I've got no problem training you. And when you do step off by yourself, you got questions, let me know. And this past summer, we used him as a subcontractor to where, like, in the summer, we were, we had our busy days, and I was like, "You got anything booked?" He's like, "Nope." Like, "You want to come work?" He's like, "Absolutely." So we bring him back in, and we just recently actually brought him back into the fold to be pretty much part-time, to where he's picked up 2 days with us, and other days he gets to do what he wants with his schedule, and he still slowly gets to build his own thing. But like that first year for him, or at least I say his first winter, that was the eye opener. And he was like, I knew it was going to be slow, but dang, man. I was like, yeah, that's dude, that's the game, man. Is navigate the winters, and then be as efficient as you possibly can with your summers, because that's when the work's coming in. Yeah. Taking as much as you can.
Yeah. And be prepared. And I think a lot of people don't prepare for that slow times, and everything can, bring on a slow time. You know, we cop a lot of flooding where we're in, and it's chaos. It comes through, and floods. You're ripping up your shop, you're trying to refit it, and you're just like, oh wow, and it just affects that whole local economy for like months.
Priorities change. It goes from I want to get my car tin. Well,
I got wet carpet, I got a wet house, and then and all them sort of things. So there's always vulnerabilities that you sort of you know, can't always anticipate. So that's a challenge. But what I was thinking with, how did you guys go with being around for so long, the change with like social media?
So big part in that was it was pretty much, I wouldn't say change in the hierarchy, but it slowly was. My dad was already kind of on his way out, and he was already telling me and my brother, because I've stayed in the company the entire time. I mean, I started tinting when I was probably like my first car windows I tinted that like actually were on a customer's vehicle. And because obviously in the back of a shop, they don't know who's tinting it. They don't know a 11-year-old's tinting your car at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, all that matters is that the work that goes out, it goes out correctly. Yeah. So I probably started tinting when I was 11, 12 years old. I stayed in. My brother had his little stint where he went and he joined, and then he came back in, which it was like how everything happened was great. And the same thing with my sister too. She wanted nothing to do with the company. And like growing up too, because my dad never even, and we've had the conversation now, which is funny. She's like, you asked me if I wanted to learn how to tint. It was always like, she just kind of, it was like she was stepping into my mom's role, or like answer the phones, do customers. And no teenager wants to do that. I don't care if it's a young boy, young girl, working customer service front end. Like no one wants to do that. Like I don't say I don't necessarily enjoy it. Like I've been made the face of the company, so I have to. But like when I was that age, like I get it. My sister wanted nothing to do with the company, so she went off and did her own thing, and then she ended up circling back to the company when she had kids, and like she wanted something more part time, and it was like the perfect timing for all of us. And then she went and worked. She went and got a college degree in events and marketing. No, what's marketing? Yeah, event planning. UNLV's got like one of the best programs in the country because Vegas is a constant event. So she worked for like 2 big corporations. So she was able to bring that skill knowledge back. And then when my dad was kind of making his exit, 2018, 19, that is where it's like he was still here. He was still selling. And we were slowly trying to be more digital with things. But getting my dad to phase over to that was a challenge, should I say. And then also change the marketing too. Back then is like we switched to start doing Google AdWords and stuff and started going more digital. My dad was heavy into the magazines. Like I remember the heyday of Yellow Pages, where it's like he was, making sure the name was spelled a certain way, so we're higher up on the list. But I would say around 2020, 2021, that is when unfortunately my dad had his stroke, was the hard pull from the company, and then it's like we were running the company. We made our switch to TintWiz. And that's when we started dabbling in social media in about 3 years ago, right before we started the podcast. That is when we brought on our first marketing agency. I actually shot some ads, like me working in front of a BMW, kind of going through a pitch and a sale. But with the podcast, that was the hard pull. It was just noticing that like everyone's on their phone constantly. Like our marketing guy said, I think people scroll like the length of the Eiffel Tower, like in a day.
Wow.
Just sitting there. Like that's how much scrolling happens. So it was diving into having the podcast was the big push for it, was to at least have one piece of content a day. It guarantees us that. Because with every episode that we shoot, we're able to find at least 7 spots or touching points where we're discussing something industry related, tint related, or either like even like the hard mention of houses. Like I can't tell you how many people's houses I've tinted in my career where when we got done, if I would have known I could have done this, I would have done this years ago. And we never really had the platform to push it out there unless you were spending an obscene amount of money on magazines or trying to buy TV time or radio time to talk about it. But like the ease of this being able to put the information out there just to get in front of the consumer, and then the branding aspect of it. When we did the podcast thing, my brother had been talking about it for years. He was trying to get me to do it. He was a big follower of Gary Vee and trying to get us more on YouTube and stuff like that. And I agreed with him, but for me, I'm a very logistical person. Like, don't just pitch me an idea and not give me like at least like a bare bones structure of how we're gonna, like how we can pull this off, and then I'll hit the ground running with it. So I always told him like, well, what mics do we use? What cameras do we use? How are we editing this? All that. And it's like, it always kind of fell short. And then we just got lucky. We came across, I came across an ad of someone I followed as Ryan Pineda. He's a real estate guy out here that is from flipping houses now has built himself into social media and like influencer. And like, so he went through all those different jumps and hoops to like, in my eyes, he was years ahead of us for a certainty when it came to social media, and especially podcasting. He was like, use my team pretty much. Like we'll coach you. Well, you'll get one podcast a week and you'll get 7 clips of, 7 reels a week to where you constantly at least posting a new reel every single day. Algorithm likes when you're posting new content over and over again. Because we had dabbled in social media before, where it's like my brother would go on like a 2 or 3 month stint where he'd be posting something new every day. And you could see in the fluctuation of our leads where it's like all of a sudden like, wow, we got a lot of leads through this time period. What was the one constant thing we were doing? We were actually staying on top of our social media. We were actually engaging with it. And it was making that final leap into like, all right, if we're going to do this, we need to do it. And we need to treat it like it's its own job. Like he used to be my graphics guy. He's my best friend. We've known each other since we were like 11 years old. Came to start working with me out of high school just as summer, wanted to make some money. Taught him how to do flat glass. He was my prepper, and we went and did flat glass together. Eventually, he became my graphics guy, and then I started teaching PPF. This past year was the first year. At the beginning of last year, I told him, like, all right, you're not installing anything ever again, because I saw from us going all in with social media what leads we could generate. Now he's our full-time content creator, editor, like he's a videographer. He does everything. So it was seeing the huge change in our branding is why we went all in with social media. And then we put the pedal to the metal straight to the ground and just haven't stopped since. Yeah. And it in my eyes, it's opened up our flat glass tremendously because now people are being told constantly, or at least they're seeing us on their feed constantly talk about flat glass. And then they reach out to us. And the majority of the time, when we first started doing it, like we didn't think it was going to probably hit as hard as it did. Within like the first, I think 4 weeks of the podcast and us actually ramping up and being consistent. Because that was always the biggest thing is if you're going to do it, you got to be consistent. Because if you fall off for a couple of weeks and you get back on, like you can't have that. When we were consistent, finally, all of a sudden my brother was going on leads where they're like, you're the one from the clips I keep seeing. Like, I didn't know I could tint my house. Like, I only called you guys because, like they'd already watched 4 or 5 different pieces of our short form content. And then some people are getting to the point where they're like, oh, I watched the episode. And it's like, so before we've even stepped foot in their house, they've probably consumed almost 2 hours worth of our content. They already pretty much know us. I mean, that's one of the biggest things when you're, trying to make a sell, I think, in anything is building that rapport with the customer and then letting them know that they can trust you. They trust what you're saying and what you're going to follow through with. And then also the big thing that helped was the reviews. We implemented, we have an automated program that sends out emails and reminders like, hey, if you get a chance, give us a review. We went from like 80 reviews when we first implemented that. Now we have 2,500, I think, something like that.
Wow, yeah. So
like those two in tandem together, it was just like all of a sudden we realized like, all right, this is what we have to do. So we moved almost all of our marketing dollars go into social media or Google AdWords. It just depends on time of the year. Like right now, Google search is down for tint. Like you can pull it up on Google and see how it trends. And like, it's the same thing every year. Summertime comes, gets real high. It gets cold. People stop searching for tint. Yeah. And then it goes back up again. So it's having the brand awareness. And that was the other big thing with the social media that made us push for that was brand awareness. Again, people their attention is on their phone. So if you're in Meta, so if you're in Instagram or Facebook, like they're seeing you constantly. So they might not need it right then, but by the time all of a sudden, say a couple weeks later, all of a sudden, or a month, 2 months later, it dawns on them they need tint. And they're like, hold on, I remember seeing that clip. What is that company again? And now all of a sudden they're Google searching us to where we probably got that lead from social media, but it came through Google because it was just, we had already imprinted our brand on them for the past however many months until they finally got to a situation where they needed film. So I'd say around 2020, 2021, that's when we, I guess my dad being pulled out of the equation to where it was pretty much like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And then also realizing if you make a decision like that, like it's not going to be permanent. If it didn't work, go back to what you were doing, and getting out of our own way. So that was, I would say that's where the social media thing came in. And then we had so much success with it. And that's like, we just gone deeper and harder. Like now we're at the point, majority of the time, we still always have one piece of content go out, getting to the point where we at least have two. Want to get to, I personally want to eventually get to the point, which I'll probably have to add to the team. I would love to put out 10 pieces a day, but they all can't be the same thing. So there's a lot of editing in there. There's a lot of video capture. But if you're making yourself that relevant and you're on people's feed constantly, all they see is you. So that was the big push for it, is just the brand awareness. Yeah. And then thankfully we have great partnerships with TintWiz, and then also with SolarGuard too. I'm able to, SolarGuard backs us in the fact of SolarGuard's not really an outward facing brand to where they're not trying to advertise directly to our consumers, not like 3M. 3M, everybody, and usually almost everybody knows what 3M is because they are directly marketing to the consumer. SolarGuard doesn't want to, and they give us more leeway to hey, I'll brand you in with us. Just, partner up with me and I'll push your brand forward, but give me the money to do it. So now I get to use it for my selfish needs of I want to get my own leads, but they also know if I have leads and I have customers, it's more film I'm buying. So how'd you come across us? Was it just
podcasts?
Now, was it through a clip and then to the podcast, or just the podcast, whether YouTube, Spotify?
Yeah, really, it was actually, it was just a podcast I was listening to another one that had TintWiz and stuff like that. And then it come across you guys. I think it just did an autoplay or something. I was like, oh yeah, who are these guys? And then it just up. Was my question about the whole social media. Is I'm one of these, I'm still in that bit of that old school trying to adapt. And I've recently people going, oh, you don't do much on Facebook. And I'm like, oh no, actually I don't. And I got to change it, I think.
To begin with, one of the lowest barriers to entry to put out free advertising. And if it's just literally just doing an install, if anything, the thing that really, wouldn't say opened my eyes because my eyes were already open for the most part, but the one event that really changed it and made me see all right, we need to keep going all in on this because it's going to have nothing but a net positive outcome, especially, yes, we have our paid ads, but also having the organic with it. Because you can put paid ads out, and if you're not doing any, you're going to get a return almost instantly. You will, if you have no paid Google AdWords or no Facebook, you will get a return almost instantly. But when you do an organic at the same time, the algorithms like the fact that you're putting out new content and then also with paid content, so they boost each other. Yeah. So it's not like it's a one-way road. This one's right, this one's wrong. It's no, you need to do both at the same time. Yeah. But Tinder Battles was the first one we went to was in 2024, and we had a video pop of me installing just competing on flat glass. And on first time that video popped was on Facebook. And then all of a sudden it was at 500,000 views. And I got a text from Carlos and he goes, dude, it's on a run. And then I think that video now is at 27 million views. And at the time we had just launched the podcast too. He had sent to us, which we didn't, I didn't pull it up. I didn't even know you could look, but on Apple for I forget what month it was, we were trending in South Africa in entrepreneur. The category was entrepreneurship. And then I forget what the other one was. You remember what the other one was? Business. So it's and then also you're seeing all the people replying, and putting comments on there. And then you're seeing the engagement of this is not just being engaged by the States. This is being seen around the world, to where if you can get a video to pop like that, your brand awareness and the eyes you have on you it's incredible. Even this last one we just went to, I think the initial viewership of all the clips is 167 million views of all the different pieces of social media content across all the platforms together, in one event. Even if we didn't win, and if there was zero, the prize money, that's cool. That's, it's nice to always win a little money. No matter what, that event was a win. Oh. It spread what we do to millions of people. Because a lot of people don't understand. Cars, most part people understand cars, but they're getting a more intricate view of what a top installation looks like. So now they're even more educated on it. So it was going to tinter battles and seeing Carlos's vision kind of come to life and seeing all the views come out of the social media clips. And it was just like, and then all you got to do when something goes off like that is engage and just keep pushing that traffic back to your landing page, back to your website. You know, if someone puts a negative remark out there, I've always, first I would attack to a point. Like I tried to be a smart ass back to them. And then I realized there's nothing to gain from this. They're literally trying to entice that reaction. And so I would just say, you know, hey, come compete. We love having extra competition. It's real fun. Or people would be like, I can't believe these people are competing and make a competition out of this. And it's like, my reply would be like, I completely understand. But for me to get better at my craft is I need to go against the other people in my industry that are the top in my industry. You know, iron sharpens iron. And that allows me to train better, allows me to put a better product out for my end consumer, because all it really comes down to is putting out the best product for my customers. Yeah, competitions are fun, but I am more interested in putting out a better product for my consumer or learning from everyone else that's there, networking with them. Like some of the the best relationships or like some of the really good friendships have come from the industry. Like I have a personal network to where I can either, if I'm going after a big commercial job, there's like 3 or 4 guys that jump to the top of my head that I'm calling instantly just to run things by them. And that's definitely something that's opened up in the industry from like the guy that you went to go get trained from to begin with. And he was like, no, thank you. Like I remember growing up with my dad, and it's like, if we were bidding a big job, it's like, we couldn't talk about it. Don't tell no one, don't trust nobody. Just don't do it. I'm kind of the complete opposite. To where it's like, I trust the people that I'm talking to. I'm giving them the trust because I've built a relationship with them, and I'm not necessarily going to open my mouth to everyone I see, but like the certain people that I feel like we actually have a friendship and a relationship with, and a working business network. Like I'm going to call them and talk to them, bounce ideas off them. Now, if any time I find someone were to use that information to go behind my back and try to steal a job from me, that just means I'm not going to talk to that person no more.
Yeah,
but. More often than not, everyone is open to help each other. Like it doesn't matter what company they work for. And like I've had personal conversations with people that technically I know for certainty they probably could maybe get a slap on the wrist of like, hey, don't talk about this with, you know, technically they're a competitor, but it's like there's so much glass everywhere. We could all be tinting 8 hours a day, 365 days a year, and we would get nowhere near the amount of cars and flat glass we have in anyone's market. It's just not possible. We don't have the labor force. And that's our biggest problem is labor. Like we bumped into it last year, and I finally was able to establish a subcontracting network of flat glass installers of friends that either live in California or in Arizona, to where if I'm all of a sudden booked out for weeks and like my brother or other sales guy are trying to sell people, and it's like, can't really tell them that, yeah, you're going to pay top dollar, but also we won't see you for a month and a half. Like, that's when people are going to say no. They cancel the appointments or they don't even book because it's like, hey, I really want to go with you guys, but I can't wait 5 weeks to get my house tinted. Now I reach out to my subcontracting network. Hey, do you want to work in Vegas for a week? You know, I'm going to pay you $4 a square foot. If you're charging the right amount, you can throw amounts of money at installers to where they're like, okay, I'll be there. And especially if they're an installer where it's like it's A+ talent. Like A+ talent, I will pay top dollar for because it's like I'm going out to install the window. You know, I was very fortunate this past year to have Marcus Katana come work for me for a couple weeks during the summer. And it was like the most stress-free handoff to jobs I've ever experienced. It's like if I had my brother go, I guess, my brother, if I hand a job off to my brother, same thing. It's like, I know the job's going to get done. It's going to get done correctly. And the customer's going to have a great experience while doing it. And that's the only things I care about. And if you're charging $25 a square foot, you can afford to pay a little extra because they do have to come out here. They're giving up a week of either being with their family. They either got to get a hotel room or get an Airbnb. Like, so they have to be compensated, you know, fairly. Can't just get people out here for like $2 a square foot. Like some people will, but that's not the installer I want. I want the installer that like, I have to technically entice them with like, dude, $4. And they're like, tell me when. Tell me when and where. And it's like, yeah, I got 3,000 square feet for you. I can work you all these days. You good with that? Okay, cool. They work for a week. They walk away with 12 grand. They're happy.
Yeah.
So, but labor's always been, you know, like you said, labor's always an issue. It's always an issue.
Yeah, it definitely is. And at this point, it definitely. I feel it's becoming harder, but
it definitely is. I would say you definitely are going to have, I would say you have some of the younger generation. Yes, they go online, they learn what they can learn from online, and then I don't know, I want to put this, I won't be too hard. I'm going to say they think they know everything, but at the same time, I thought I knew everything at that age too. So they need more laps around the sun to realize that you got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
It took me, I grew up in this industry. It took me a while to understand that. Yeah. And I think that's just life in general.
Yeah.
As I crossed the 30-year-old barrier, I realized like, oh, what my parents and all the people in my life have been telling me are 100% right. Yeah. I need to get out of my own way.
Yeah. It is. And that's how I look at, the good and the bad with, a lot of the social media, putting a lot of stuff, content up, of showing a lot of, the detail of tinting. Sometimes I feel like customers now that I've sort of discovered that some of them think that they know, and I'm just like, and I've actually put a bit of thought into it. I was like, oh, wow, they're like, oh no, that's not the way you do it. And I'm like, that is the way I do it. I pull that top seal out of that door. Oh no, I see. It's like, so it's a hard thing.
Well, how you would counteract that though is what you do is, I can tell you right now, this is a video you should make. You make a video of you doing it and then giving the wave tops of why you do it. And then you also got to do it along, this is something I've had to get better at too. Because even when we opened up when we were doing the educational side, it's like, I know I can tint. I can tint anything, but can I pass that knowledge along? That's a whole new, set of skills I have to learn. Is my little small micro movements that I'm doing, I have to remember to explain what I'm doing it, how I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, because it's just natural to me right now. Even when it comes to say pulling the seal out, I know plenty of installers do it. For me, I will pull a seal if it's easy. So if it's an easy pop and pull, I'll do. Yeah. Otherwise, I eventually learned, I ended up teaching myself how to bottom load with leaving seals in.
Yep.
And that is a way to do it. It's not the only way to do it. And how a lot of content gets put out is, and how a lot of people are trained. And that gets back to I don't like bringing in people that have been trained somewhere if they don't have the right mindset, because it's like, well, that's not how I was trained. I was told if you do it this way, that's wrong. I'm like, I don't know who told you that. Yeah. But I wouldn't listen to them, because there's a million different ways to do this. All that matters is the end goal of it being the correct install with the high quality, no contamination, what is acceptable to the industry standard. Are you hitting that? You're hitting that. I don't care how you get from here to here, as long as you don't break nothing and the install looks great. Yeah. So I just make a video and explain, this is why I do this. Yeah. This reduces contamination. And it's not the only way to do it, but that's the way I've learned. That's the way I've learned to do it. And this is how I get as close to a factory install as humanly possible. And there are other ways to do it, but that's how we do it here. And come at it with a point of authority. This is how I do it, but it's not the only way to do it. Because unfortunately there is a lot of content that is getting put out where it's there are multiple Facebook groups that it's just pure toxic in my mind, where someone's asking an earnest question and then you just have 20, 30 installers just ripping that person to shreds. And it's let alone, I could go through those 20 to 30 installers and it's all right, well, 2 of you in here know what you're talking about. The other 30 people are in a point in their career where they think they know what they're talking about. They just haven't hit that wall yet. Just give it time. Yeah. You're going to hit that wall too, buddy. Yeah. So it's just putting out more of your own information branded to you, to where you're selling yourself, your company, and the way you do things. And this is why we do it, because we expect the highest quality installations. That's how I would approach that, and that's how to go after that, because I will agree. There are plenty of installers that get so proficient in being able to take doors apart, and because that's a skill by itself too. People don't realize that you got to tint the window. Sure. If you actually learn how to take door panels apart correctly and not just rip them off, and you get real good at it, yes, that install 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 times out of 10 is going to be the exact way you want it to be, and it's going to be cleaner. And there are other ways you can learn to install to do the same thing, but it's do you want to take the time to learn that, or are you going to take the time to learn to take the car apart and put it back together? It just depends on what you're comfortable with. Some people aren't comfortable taking door panels apart. I've gotten myself comfortable, but I'm also in the position where when I was learning it, as much as I hate saying it, I was the owner's son. to think that I couldn't get away with more is just stupidity. I obviously could get away with more. Or if I broke something, yes, he'd be mad at me. But at the same time, it's my dad. He'll get over it. I was always the one doing the, I would say, riskier removals.
Yeah.
To where I would tell all my installers, like, hey, if you're not comfortable, just come grab me. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Like, it's no one wants to pay for a part on a vehicle or a mirror on a windshield. Like,
no,
it is what it is,
Yeah. And then that is exactly it. I mean, there are certain cars you just can't, you're best off not pulling apart.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you get a Bentley rolling in.
Yeah.
We're not taking a thing off this car. We're not.
I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, we are tinting everything in place. Yeah. No, absolutely.
That was probably something that was one thing I was I do put a bit of thought into how that the customers do think they do know in just in a lot of the different aspects of it is like that shouldn't be like that or this shouldn't be. It's like
that was the other push for the social media then too. Then I think I look back at it now and it's just I think we got. That was an added benefit that I did not realize up until like recently. It's like, all right, if we're putting out content the way we do things, now we're already setting that standard with the customer. Where if that customer now comes to us and he's seen part of our content, they already know how we operate.
Yeah.
Like they see my installers in the back working on cars. We have videos of them installing. So they see us putting down dash covers, soak ropes in. Like we've made videos directly for those type of things.
Yep.
And it's building that trust with the customer before they even get in here. And it's, the best way to counter bad information is with good information.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to tear down, which like I said, unfortunately that does still happen a lot in our industry. Guys will be like, nah, he's doing it wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like, instead of trashing the guy, why don't you send him a personal message? Be like, hey man, I understand what you're saying here, but like, this is, personally, this is why I wouldn't do this. Help the person out because all it takes is one person to have a bad experience on their car or one person has a bad experience on their house. You just lost a customer for yourself personally, and let alone they are now going to influence the circle around them where you just potentially lost other customers you didn't even know you could land themselves, and then that's the big thing where it's like why we push out so much, especially just even with the industry too. Like I'll see someone post something and I usually never will comment unless it's pretty much a direct comment or a direct statement someone's making like, hey, I checked the glass. This surface has this. What would you recommend? And then I'll throw a film in there. But if it's like something else that's a little bit more personal, I'll send them a private message. Like I want to try to help them out as much as I can. And it's like, I know if I make a message in here, someone's going to say something stupid, probably get my blood going. Yeah. And then I'll be tempted to reply back. And it's like, I'm like, nah, I'll just keep it in house and just send it to them personally. If I can help them, that helps that person have a good experience with somebody. You don't know where that person might move eventually. And their direct experience with our industry, if you don't think it affects your market, it will in some sort of way, no matter what. Like if a person moves, a friend of that person where they sit there and rail against tinting their house, like, dude, I tinted my whole house. Nothing happened. It got hotter in my house. And it's like, well, if they would have metered the glass and saw that the coating was on surface 3, like shouldn't have tinted the inside of that house. You should have tinted the exterior of the house. It would have made a big difference and they would have had a positive encounter with film. And they could have they have another house, could have got the other house done, or say they work in a big building that they're trying to solve the heating problem or the cooling problem in that big building. And someone brings up tint and they're sitting at a table where they actually have some authority and they go, well, no, don't do that. I got my house windows tinted and it did nothing for me. Or I got my car windows tinted and because that person unfortunately maybe did the whole bait and switch of like, oh yeah, I'm going to sell you ceramic. And then they sell a low end crap ceramic that doesn't do anything for their car. They also had a negative impact to where it's like, now that hurts our industry. Like the more educated the consumer is and the more they know and the more you teach them, the bigger the pie is going to grow, the more work for everybody. And then we don't have to fight over work. At least that's what we've been trying to push forward. And I mean, again, big influence from Eric from Tintwiz. What that guy's done for the industry is crazy. And like trying to bring people together instead of everyone at each other's throats. Cause that doesn't, I've grew up through that. And that wasn't fun.
it's so it makes so much sense to like a lot of people you'll see on social media. Some will advertise an unrealistic price, and I think the best way is to communicate with the place and say like, what's the deal with that price, and you probably find that it's a misleading advert. Yep. They're not doing full ceramic tints for $300. It's normally like let's get this person in the door and try and if people communicate more, we can sort of say, hey, maybe don't do that. And rather than keep pushing the prices down, unite and work together a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And then beyond those people doing that, put out content explaining what's happening.
Yeah.
And if you make your pitch in a way of letting the consumer know, like, I'm not going to say do it with bashing that other person, but letting them know where the pitfalls can be if you're being told one thing or the other.
Yeah.
And educate them.
Yeah.
Because then they see through that nonsense, like the infrared number being one of them.
Yeah.
Like, that's I tell my front salespeople, like, your guys' biggest tool should be, yeah, sure, you can mention that number, but also educate them on what that number represents. Because if they do call around, I know for a certainty the majority of the people that that would be technically, I guess, our competitors within our market are pushing that infrared number and only that infrared number.
Yep.
So I make videos talking about it.
Yep.
I talk about it on the podcast, and he'll catch it every once in a while. He'll make a clip and he'll put that clip out. And it's like, I'm not going to bash them. If that's how they want to operate their company, they absolutely can. Yeah. But it is extremely misleading.
Yep.
And it does hurt our industry. So I will combat it in a sense that I'm going to put content out talking about what that number is, what it represents. And the same thing goes for flat glass too. When the back of a flat glass sample sheet, it'll say it can hold up to 79% heat rejection. All right. Well, now let's go up to the top of that where it says 1/8-inch thick glass. Not that many homes have 1/8-inch thick single panel glass in their homes. Yeah. Now scroll over to where it says dual pane, 1/4-inch glass, where that's where majority of the glass is. Yeah. All of a sudden that number drops off. That's fine, but also, okay, you have a coating. All right, well, your window's already holding out this part of the heat spectrum. This film's going to hold out this side of it to where you are going to see a significant jump. Or we go exterior and you'll get pure heat rejection because it's hitting it right off the bat. And just making a video and putting that out by itself, now we're going into customers' homes and they've already gotten the wave tops of that education. Now we get to go even further into it with them put the meter on the window, explain what kind of glass it is. And now we do that every single time. And I still know, and we say it over again, majority of our competitors are not doing it. Like, makes it fairly easy to compete against anyone else when you're not doing those things. It just does.
Yeah.
The consumer sees that and they're like, yeah, you guys cost more, but I also trust you guys that it's going to solve my problem. Yeah. So I'll pay the extra money to make sure that it's done correctly. And I'm not just going to waste $3,000 to try to save $2,000 because I don't want to spend the $5,000.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's what we push for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you hitting us up, and it's kind of crazy in the fact that you just stumbled across the podcast and from Australia. And and that's the other thing that's really, I think we're starting to see that now with the podcast is kind of, I mean, I know that people listen to podcasts, but the fact that people listen to me talk kind of blows my mind a little bit. But I guess it's imposter syndrome, but it's crazy to see the fact that it is reaching all the way out. We reached all the way to Australia, and the fact that you were able to come out here and come sit down.
Yeah, it's awesome. Drop in and have a chat. No, I say it is a good tool that people can talk, and some things can help someone in some way.
All about networking. Like I said, I have installers that come wintertime, especially the younger guys. I told them like one great thing about this industry is if you get into it at a young age, take advantage of it, get a passport, and then go country to country in the summertime. You can go find the work. The work's out there, especially when it's real hot. You can find the shops. So I will say, if you are looking for installers during the summer, I have some people that I'm probably going to throw your way.
Yeah, and definitely do.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. There's absolutely work. We scream out for them in summer, and very always work down there for anybody.
All right, I will definitely connect with that. And so, again, I appreciate you coming on.
No.
And then if you're ever in Vegas ever again, the next time you come out here, definitely hit us up. Definitely do a recap. And
thanks for having us on the show. It's good.
No, appreciate it.
Good experience. And
All right, guys, you know how this works. Subscribe, follow along. Until next time.